What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. 10mm ammo test series continued. Today, if I have my stuff straight, I think we're on number 23. We've got so many of them now, I've kind of lost track, but this should be number 23. We're back to another Underwood offering. This is a request that was actually made for the LC carbine testing, but I think we have to do pistol testing first. This is Underwood 100gr Xtreme Defender. That 100gr Lehigh Xtreme Defender projectile is supposedly going at 1,825 feet per second. That's pretty darn fast. We will definitely be putting that to the test. Keep in mind, this is the Xtreme Defender. There is also the Xtreme Penetrator, and then there's other extreme things for other cartridges. But for the 10mm, the two that you're going to find are the Defender and the Penetrator. The Penetrator definitely drives deep. The Defender, not so much. So let's see how this actually does in a 20-inch gel block. The two firearms we're going to be using today are the ones we always use for the 10mm test series. We have the Colt Delta Elite, that's a 1911 with a 5-inch barrel. And we have the Springfield XDM Elite OSP with a 3.8-inch barrel. We will be shooting both of these firearms over this Garmin, through this Caldwell, into these B8 targets, which are going to be 15 feet away, trying to hit as many of these X-rings as we can. The polymer wonder, the Springfield, that has a Holosun 407C red dot. The 1911 has good old iron sights, 3-dot white. Then we'll move the chronograph to right in front of the gel so that we can capture impact velocity. We have here two 20-inch 10% clear ballistics gel blocks for a total of 40 inches. And I'll be doing my accuracy testing offhand, practical accuracy. I'm not going for bench rest or anything like that. We're just trying to see how this stuff feels in the hand and how your average person can shoot it. Testing explained, let's get to shooting. And like I said, we will be testing it out of the carbine, but pistols first. So stay tuned for that video. That should be tomorrow. All right, so the XDM Elite 3.8-inch is up first. This is a total workhorse of a pistol. Extremely awesome pistol. Has done a lot of work on this channel. Very accurate with red dot. Very accurate with iron sights, actually. So I'm going to take 5 nice controlled shots. We have a little bit of wind today, but that's not going to matter this close with this type of stuff. Let me turn down my red dot a little bit for some accuracy purposes. And let's see how we do. Well, that was exactly where that red dot was aimed. That hit the X absolutely, I mean, just right on the bottom of it, but it hit it perfectly. It was where I was aiming. 1671 on the Caldwell, and I forgot to start my Garmin, so maybe I'll capture 4 out of those 5 shots. Exceptional accuracy. I believe we had a hole in hole there. These really fast handgun bullets tend to be extremely accurate. 1632 on the Caldwell, 1667 here on the Garmin. So we're not hitting what the box says out of the 3.8-inch, but let's see what the 5-inch 1911 does down here in a little bit. Again, right where the dot was, I was a little bit above the X. 1667 down there again. I don't know if that was a repeat or an error. 1712 on the Garmin. Absolutely awesome. 1645 down there. 1680 up here. I know that one took forever, but I was trying to get that dot to settle down. It's kind of hard to extend out for 5 shots in a row for a bullseye deal. 1689 down there. 1736 here with 4 shots. I would say that it's stout. It does feel like a 10mm, of course. This gun handles recoil very well, so it's kind of a weird one to measure recoil with. If you do get to the super snappy level, it will let you know, but for the most part, I would say there's a hair bit of sting in the hand from it, but the recoil is not excessive. It's not a wrist breaker. It's not a trigger finger breaker. It just gives you a little bit of sting in the palm of your hands. Very controllable if you're used to somewhat larger calibers. And that is, like I said, exceptional accuracy. If I didn't screw up with that one shot somehow, I knew that I floated above. When my trigger broke, I could see the dot. Wherever this dot is, that bullet goes. And I was just a little bit low here, I guess, on these shots for some reason when the trigger finally broke. But wow, very, very nice. All 5 shots right in there. You can't ask for anything better. Like I said, the fast movers tend to do pretty good, at least at closer distance. There's a little bit of an argument about copper ammunition with accuracy, but a lot of times that applies to rifles and farther out shots. Let's see if we can get anywhere near that with the 1911 over there on that target. I'm pretty good with that 1911, but I don't know if I'm that good today. All right, 5-inch Colt Delta Elite. Like I said, a very accurate pistol. I usually shoot it pretty well. It gives me a little trouble with these white dot, 3-dot white sights in the sunlight, but we don't have sunlight to deal with today. So I'm going to take a little extra time. Sorry if it is excruciating, but I really want to try to get good groups. And that's a weird looking shot. So we're going to go take a look at that. 1789 down there. We have 1815 here on the Garmin. Let's go take a look at the target real quick. Well, I put my shot right there, but we seem to have a problem. So to be quite honest with you, I have a piece of steel in the back of this backstop, and sometimes it shatters the solid copper bullets. So that's a piece of the copper, solid copper, shattering and coming back out of the backstop, pulling some stuff with us. So let me move this target over a little bit. All right, I've moved that target. The hole is still in there so we can keep the same group. I know that I've moved position, but I'll keep trying. Like I said, 1815 over here, 1789 down there. Not quite what the box says up here at the muzzle, but maybe we'll get that on one of the shots. Probably a pretty good shot right there, possibly. We have 1810.4 and 1790 down there. $17.79 down there in the Caldwell, $17.99 here. And $17.94 on the Garmin, $17.70 up there. And $1,800 exactly. At least that's a nice rounded number. $17.71 down there. And that's probably because we were empty. I figured we were empty. We did not lock the slide back on that one, which is a little bit odd. It doesn't feel super hot out of this gun, so maybe it's just for some reason not enough to lock that slide back, or maybe something just tripped up. This is not the original factory Colt magazine. We usually use these tester magazines. I keep the Colt ones for actually carrying. So I can't explain why that didn't lock open, but the 1,800 feet per second, that's pretty close to that 1825. So I wouldn't pick on it too much. A lot of people put a lot into that, but every gun is different. So the test gun that got the 1825 might be or might not be a Delta Elite or something similar. Let's go take a look at the group. So this backstop is not cooperating today. So let me try to put this back together for a second. Somehow, some way, my backstop is just being a little ornery today. This is just some spray back from some particle board that we use. So really all the shots between the 5 of them are here or here. Not too bad. I don't even think they're too much to the right. I think maybe we have a hole here, a hole here, and a hole here. I think it's time to refurbish the backstop, but we got them all in the X-ring. That's the big thing. All of them in the X-ring for the iron sights, and all of them in the X-ring for the Colt Delta or the XDM Elite with the red dot. Very good accuracy out of this. I can be honest with you, I didn't have the greatest sight picture. I thought my lighting was okay for today, but really I was kind of having a glowing front sight. So I really didn't even have the best sight picture or front sight picture, but I still got them all in the X-ring. Good job, Underwood. All right, up first is a 3.8-inch XDM Elite. Let's see what 100 grains traveling at that speed will do with an Xtreme Defender. I'm going to try to put it in a great place. That's a great place as long as it stayed in the block. 1654 here at the muzzle. And maybe I set it to meters per second, but it says 504 down there. So let's check it. $16.54 here at the muzzle. And yep, I sure did set it for meters per second. So there you go, everybody over there in the other countries that use the other system. 504 meters per second. I don't know what that means, but you do. We have a very angry bird in the background, so don't mind him. But there is our hit. We have a good hit, and you can immediately see how that stuff starts tearing things up in the gel, immediately creating disruption. We can come around to the side here and try to get a good focus for you there. You will see a really good wound channel right there. That is better than your typical jacketed hollow point looking wound channel. Those flutes start immediately shoving things around. There's just a hydraulic pushing effect that happens. There's where the bullet has settled in at. Let me get the tape up. Let's do some actual measurement, but I'll tell you, it pretty much poked 20 inches. It's just landed back a couple. All right, there you go. That's a really nice view. We have good sunlight on that one right now. It's really making it stand out. That's a very massive chunk of permanent wound cavity, at least in a gel block. It's not flesh, but it's gel, so it's representative of something when we compare other bullets to it. So that big part of the wound track, at least from this angle, stops. It starts stopping at, if that makes sense, it starts stopping at 6 inches and it's done stopping at about 7. Then it goes to more of a mild, but not the piercing type of wound channel that you typically see with jacketed hollow points. This stuff still keeps disrupting as it moves down. And it moves down all the way down to 19.25 at least. It's probably sitting between 19 and 19.5 inches. It does have a bounce back. If I can see the bounce back, which is at like 19.75 inches, I can guarantee you that thing tried to come out of that block. It just had a little elasticity and it pulled it back. Let's flip it around from the other side because it's closer to the other side and it will look better. All right, I'm always the one doing the camera here for this, so I'm not the best cameraman. Camera guy's over there working with the slow motion stuff, but wow, what a nice channel. I think I got a good enough focus on it. You can see it much better from this side of the block. You can see that that thing is actually facing us right now. So those flutes that you see are what does all that crazy chaotic stuff all the way back here. We did end up with a little bit of a piercing wound cavity here at the very end, but keep in mind that thing's surrounded by a big old pocket of gas. So something weird happened right there at the end. You can see that that channel is very consistently getting larger as it goes to the back. It has that very large part right there. That's pretty scary looking. But right from the very second it entered that block, it started disruption all the way through that block, hitting the end of that 20 inches. And I'm telling you, let me go ahead and line up so you can see. You'll see the edge of that block right there. I guarantee you it tried to come out of there. It just couldn't, and it landed back. No deformation in that bullet, no loss of weight. That's 100 grains when we pull it out of there. Let's take a look from the top. You're gonna have to put up with a little bit of my reflection from up here, but you can see that there's some charring effect in that block. It definitely had an effect of very, very nasty as it goes down. It's burned its way down. Goes ahead to the end of the block. We do have a deviation. It did go, let's see, the way the block was facing, this stuff deviated to the left. So by the time it was at the end of the block, it was threatening to go a little bit left, not high. It didn't deviate high, but these things actually do deviate a little bit. Sometimes they go straight, but a lot of times I think that disruption throws them off course. So let's go ahead and see what happens out of the 5-inch 1911. All right, now we have the 5-inch barrel. Let's see if that makes a difference. With increased velocity, one of two things are going to happen. Either that fluting is going to create more of a disruption and end up with more resistance, and it's going to slow it down a little, well, maybe trap it a little bit is what the better word would be. So put the brakes on faster, but be more violence, or it could drive deeper. We'll see. The jacketed hollow points tend to open up more violently and stop shorter. It'll be interesting to see what 100 grains of copper will do right about now. Ooh, I saw some sparking out of the barrel. I don't know if there was anything in the block. Pretty good hit. I think we can separate those out. We have 1789 at the barrel, and I kept it on the metric system down there for everybody over there in the other part of the world. 545 as far as meters per second. $1789.6 actually, 545 meters per second. We had a good strike in there. I'm saving some of the rest of that block for something else, so that's good. All right, so they are kind of on top of each other. We're gonna have to look at it from the top just for now, get those separated out. They are pretty similar to each other though. Pretty much that same charring effect, the same initial wound channel. You see the expansion, that bigger part right at the same place. They're kind of tapering down at the same place and they're kind of acting the same. As they go down, this one deviated to the right, the other one deviated to the left. We've done this multiple times with these type of Lehigh projectiles, the solid coppers, the fluted ones like this. I think actually that has something to do with following path of least resistance. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to line up on the back of the block, and I'm going to show you how one went right and one went left. And I think that just has to do with there is, of course, less density on the edge of the block towards the outside than there is in the center. This gel is very tough stuff. You can barely tear it without scoring it first. But once something starts riding towards the edge, it likes to try to spit out of the edge. I think that's what these do. I can't be certain. Anyway, this one did make it all the way down there to in between the two blocks. It is stuck in between the two, so it's sitting right at 20 inches. It has poked into the other block a little bit with its nose, and you can see a bounce back of at least an inch. I will get the tape measure out. So I would say we could probably call that 21 to 21 and a half, somewhere in there. The tape's a little bit uneven with the two blocks, but you get the picture. It did a poke back. That wound channel looks very nice all the way back. Sorry, little jump in the camera, but that looks all the way back there. It looks nasty right there. Take a look at that. That's where you see the burning effect in there. Did the same thing the first one did, just a little bit differently. Let's take a look from the other side, see if we can try to get anything different. Looking at it from the other side, the one at the top of your screen is the one that we're looking at now. Now we're headed this way. So, like I said, pretty much the same looking type of a track. It's on the total other end of the block, so it's distorted looking now. We did have down there what appeared to be a slightly different extra tumble before it left the block, and it left the block with just a little bit of gas there in the track. Let's flip the block and try to look one more time from the top a little better. Actually, I had to show you this first. That thing is sitting right there like that. It's just stuck to that block, sitting backwards. I moved that block off of that block, and that's just how it rests. All right, there we go from the top. They both do the same thing pretty much. Like I said, one deviates to the left, one deviates to the right. One just made it out of the block, one almost made it out of the block. All right, there she is. It's going to look the same out of both pistols, so there's nothing to measure. There's nothing to weigh. It's going to weigh 100 grains. There's no loss of anything. It's going to be the same 40 caliber / 10 millimeter diameter. You can see right there how the rifling engages those copper bands. You can see the copper is hollowed out a little bit at the bottom. It could be just to balance out the weight exactly where they want. It could be a little bit something to do with gas, both maybe. But the bottom line is these things are pretty consistent and they're pretty darn mean. They hit bone, they hit things like that. They're not going to shatter. They're not going to shed their jackets. They do deviate a little bit. We do see them not going totally straight all the time, like maybe let's say a hard cast. But then again, we've even had some hard cast deviate. So sometimes it's just the jacketed hollow points when they expand evenly, they tend to drive actually the straightest. So like always, there's the information. Use it as you see fit. Let us know in the comments what you think about this ammunition, this style of projectile or bullet. Let us know what you think about the gel test, all this. What if, does it make any sense to you to actually carry this stuff? Is it more of a self-defense round, a bear defense round? What do you guys think it actually is? As far as my opinion, and I usually don't give a complete opinion, but I will actually this time, I think it is a very well-calibrated 10 millimeter round. You guys don't jump on the velocity thing too much. We got close enough, that's for sure. It's a solid copper projectile, which means it's going to be, for the most part, barrier blind. It got exactly 20 inches of penetration. And in my opinion, even if that's a little bit too much for some people, I really don't think over penetration is much of an issue. It's just a conclusion that I've come to after enough experience in a bunch of different scenarios, but definitely with testing this stuff in the gel blocks. It's definitely controllable if you know 10 millimeter and you want to shoot 10 millimeter. You know what you're getting into. This is easy to handle. And it's available as loaded ammunition, and you can load this stuff yourself. So if you like it, you can continue to make it yourself. Usually you can get your hands on the projectiles. But overall, I think it's a pretty good choice. Again, let me know what you think in the comments. Now that we're out here, onto the carbine testing with this. So like I said, stay tuned for that. We have to keep the tests separate because they just won't match up with our 10 millimeter test series if we smash it all together. But thank you for watching this video. I hope you guys are enjoying the 10 millimeter test series and all the other videos we do. Thank you to all the channel members and members on Patreon. If you found this video helpful, share it with someone else who might like it. And until we see you next time, stay safe, have fun, and keep shooting.